Well, as we come back from Chow, we'll kick it off at 1300. I have about a 4-hour lecture that I want to give on the outbrief of where we've been today. No, we're not. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was waiting for, Ashley. Thank you. It's not 4 hours. I've got a few notes here that I want to go over that recap the week. And once we recap the week, I'm on the schedule for 45 minutes, but it's not going to take me 45 minutes to recap the week. Then we'll bring up Lieutenant Beach. We'll bring up Roast, and he'll. I wish they wouldn't have put this thing here, this trophy, because I'm afraid I'm going to knock it off on this podium. I've got these notes written, but I'll be very careful, Roast, not to knock this over. So I think it's been a terrific and successful week here at the Garden. The Garden's brought to us by the Patuxent River Partnership, which is a PIA out of NAWC AD. So without the PIAs, I'm just going to read from my notes here because this is pretty good. I want to get this right. The Patuxent Partnership. This is a non-FAR-based strategy being used to bring us today's event, and it's without PIAs we'd have much more difficult time to bring events like this. So the non-FAR-based strategies, which is what we're using today, the PIAs, Congress has given those authorities to the Warfare Center, well, to the federal labs, but specifically I'm going to talk to the Department of Navy, to the Department of Navy to put on events like this. It's very, very simple to put events on like this, where the collaboration space, innovation village, whatever you might want to call it, is out in town. It's low barriers of entry. Secretary Gertz used to say that all the time. I want low barriers of entry. I want people to be able to ebb and flow out of there easily. That means the Don workforce, and then also our industry partners in academia. So we didn't have to, as you know, oftentimes I'm from Joint Base Charleston. It's a 72-hour window to put somebody on the list, to get them on base, and then it's a whole thing. Out in town, much easier to meet those small businesses, academia that don't have the CACs. You can have a quick meeting with someone and then go back to base, or in this case, where we have a great innovation space that Patuxent Partnership, in partnership with the Garden, have brought to us. So the Don workforce, so terrible, right? So let's talk about the tech bridges and what the tech bridges have brought to us. The tech bridges within the Don workforce, each of them have unique and specialized targets that they want to hit. And if you take a look at the Naval X Tech Bridge annual report, you'll see great little honeycombs in there that talk about what each tech bridge is focused on. Now, each of those focus areas may or may not be aligned to the technology growth areas that every warfare center have. So there may be some in there that don't like, well, you don't have AI. NIWC Atlantic doesn't have AI in there, but AI is one of our technology growth areas, or thrust area, whatever we may call it. At ONR, sir, you know, we have thrust areas that we target after. Every warfare center has those. So there's no exclusivity. Those are just some ideas that are put there for main ideas. That doesn't mean that if you have an idea about, I don't know, let's say corrosive material that you want to spray on or paint on circuit boards, that if you drop into salt water, they still work, and I can watch them work and run a computer at the same time. That doesn't mean you can't come to NIWC LANT and ask us if we're interested through the tech bridge there. The tech bridge is a network, is a complete network of folks, and there's meetings every Monday with tech bridge directors to talk about these things. Now that's something that's been special across the nerdy, the naval research and research development and and not enterprise. Help me out. Establishment. Thank you very much. Across the nerdy. So each Monday there's a meeting that goes over what we're going to talk about and who's doing what, to share information, to go back and forth and help each other. The tech bridges through the Impact. So we heard from Impacts, which is out at Pax River. They talked about what they're doing, and the Impacts helps with prize challenges. They help with ANTXs out at Pax River, and they also help with tech scans. They brought technology awareness to Pax River, to NAWC AD, that may not have been there before. We've heard SoCal Tech Bridge. One of the things that I got to see when I went out to a symposium at Miramar was the SoCal Tech Bridge host a 5G symposium. Here's where they brought, so all of Miramar has 5G. All of Miramar also has, and I think you saw the SoCal Tech Bridge discuss this small trolley that's automated, that autonomously moves about the base. What this was pretty interesting is that it also could deliver parts. So parts for a hangar that need to go down to the maintenance bay, they put the parts on the machine autonomously drives down to the hangar bay, drops the parts off and comes back. So now you're saving time, you're not putting people on the road, it's all done autonomously. The whole base is set up like that. We also got to see some of the power stuff out there at the base, which I will not talk about, but there is some great technology there that's utilizing the 5G, and then also some of the great things that the installations and the logistics part of USMC has brought to that base. So very interesting to see that go on with it in collaboration with the Tech Bridge. The Coastal ANTX, which I'm going to next week, the 22nd and the 23rd, virtual and in person, is going on at Port Hueneme. That Fathom Works out there, that's the independent, and then the Tech Bridge, the Tech Bridge out there is hosting the ANTX. Great collaboration with the Warfare Center there in Port Hueneme, and then also the Port Authority of Port Hueneme. It's going to be done right there at Pierside. So that's a great tool that's been brought to the warfare, to the NERDI, and also the RDA community and the two services, the Navy and the Marine Corps. Human-centered design, we saw that yesterday. I think we had the call brief, may have been yesterday, we saw the call brief, and it's not just about Naval X in the call. We saw a Warfare Center, NIWC LANT used some of their NICE funding to talk about how they're looking at human-centered design and bringing that into not only just internal space for what they do at NIWC LANT, but also putting that out to the IPTs that support the project offices like the PEOs and MARCOR Syscom specifically. So to the customer base. We saw LI2S. LI2S is a supply system for Marine Corps. LI2S had a great discussion on how a compelling discussion on how they took the challenges that they saw with software development, applied agile methodology, and are getting software into the supply systems faster than they were before. Super important. And that's a small team that did that. There were 3 or 4 persons that got up and talked about that, and they brought that because they had interest and they saw a problem and took advantage of it. We also saw 2 PEOs get up here, which you often don't see. So, well, maybe I don't see it. Maybe we see it, and I haven't seen it, and you see it, but we saw PEO MLB and PEO IWS up to talk about both what they're doing with innovation support services and then also the Forge. PEO MLB is super interested in the Forge, the capital software, the software factory methods. So MLB talked at length with IWS about that. So there's Mr. Hubbard's folks from MLB and Admiral Okana's folks from the Forge talking and coordinating back and forth to bring technology and a better way to do business into the future. What else do we have? That's a lot. This is probably the most nervous I've been all week up here. I have no clue why. Probably because there's just so much that's happened. And then I drilled into everyone's head when we talk about innovation, or we talk about the small businesses, or we talk about what's available out there. I drove into everyone's head about my friend at the SBIR program office. How many SBIRs are available? SBIRs are underutilized, and we just need to take a look at those even more. There's 532 SBIRs out there, over 500, phase 2 that are available. So Don Workforce, get at it, take a look at it. And then we had the unmanned campaign plan. We had the unmanned campaign plan briefed and discussed. What's the pivot to the unmanned campaign plan? What's the pivot to the Pacific? What are we doing in the Pacific? I mean, this came on the heels of AUKUS, right? We just saw that, and we saw a lot of discussion about that. France had some things to say. We had the United States talking about what we want to do down in the South, down in the Pacific Rim. We've got Marines on Darwin working, and how we're going to support Australia and getting their naval fleet up and ready for whatever may come in hopes to deter the next war. So let's talk about walkaways. What's the biggest walkaway that I've seen from here and that I know you've seen is collaboration. I had more folks come up to me and say, hey, Steve, who's that person? Who's that girl? Who's that guy? Who was talking about this? Or who should I discuss XYZ with? And then I had a bunch of notes written. I have like 4 emails to do to connect other people that either aren't here or we're online or just, not available. So I said, well, I'll send an email to so-and-so and we'll get you connected up to the right person. So collaboration was big. But what happens when we come, now here's where I'm going to get more comfortable talking about things, is I'm going to use words like, I say we get all sexed up about collaboration. We just we're in it for that moment. That moment in time, we are like, wow, I am focused. I took my ginkgo biloba and I'm all about it. Well, don't lose that passion. Don't lose that. Come back to it. Make sure you follow up. Make sure I follow up. Make sure I do what I say I'm going to do. Don't lose it, because if we lose it, that's where we start to lose the little things. And sometimes it's the little things that get you. So again, we're going for that 2-millimeter reach. Let's go for it and follow up on it. More events. This event was put on by a few people. There's nothing saying that you can't so this is to the Don workforce. This is to my brethren at the warfare centers. There's nothing saying that you can't go to your commanding officer, show her or him right online on the YouTube channel or the LinkedIn channel, I want to do something like these Naval X characters did. Look what they put together. Do the same thing at your warfare center. Absolutely 100% give it a try. They can just say no, and then you can just go back to work. Or they can say yes, and then you can even have more work. But it's an exciting time. And as the week comes to an end, you're like, wow, that was really, really good. Pretty exhausting, but super good. And allow your people to attend. So take a look at this. So I entreat everybody to give this to your supervisors, give it to your commanding officers. This goes for our Fleet Marine Force and to our fleet, sailors and Marines. Show it to your COs. Let them know. And I'm glad we have active duty here from NPS. Tell your friends who are in command. Like, things like this are important. And you've seen it over here in the makerspace with the active duty Marines coming here. You've seen them make robots. I mean, what Lance Corporal makes a robot on big, thick, huge tracks? We don't often do that. We don't get time to do that. And there are programs and funding available to work that out. It's not easy. None of this is easy. There's no easy button for it. It takes dedication, it takes time, and it takes an acquisition professional, and it takes people that have penchant to do it on the active duty side, and we know they're there because we see them right next door. I also would say not every idea is millions of dollars. I happen to be sitting writing these notes up, and one of the team members were here, and from the building, from the garden, and I asked, well, what's the price of one of those robots? What's the price of what the Marines built over there? And she said it's about $3,000. I mean, it's like $3,000 in the acquisitions world? What that's like one day's pay for me. No, I'm teasing. $3,000 is a drop in the bucket, right? If I can get a $3,000 kit to a Marine, a bit of training, or just an instruction manual on YouTube to take a look and say, hey, go off and explore, that's instrumental. If I do that with a sailor, same thing. Instrumental in making that sailor feel like, wow, I get to do this. This is something uncommon. I'm not just sweeping ladder backs and all the other stuff when the whistles blow, or putting pine oil on whatever it is in the barracks when I'm doing my field day. I'm doing something neat. I'm using my brain. I enjoy this. This is a nice break. So it's good. So not every idea takes $1 million. That same goes for the workforce. When I talked about your NICE funding, the Naval Innovation, Science, and Engineering, Don't think that I can't do that because I don't have something that costs $500,000. It could be as simple as a $10,000 project. Put it in. Get told no. That doesn't make any sense. These challengers that you saw here today, most of them are going to be told, no, you don't win. But they're going to learn with experience. And that's the only way we can continue on with this, is not be afraid. And I think someone up here said, don't be afraid to put it out on the line. Put it out on the line. Get out there and do something. Don't sit back and say, oh, somebody else will do it. That Malcolm Gladwell book of where somebody else will call 911. Call 911. Be that person. Move forward. Take the risk. Do it. As long as you're not doing something illicit, you're not going to get in trouble. Continue to empower the workforce to use. This is the biggest one. The non-FAR based strategies. They're so fantastic. Congress has authorized us, the warfare centers, the federal labs, to have these authorities. But yet we still have naysayers. Well, with those naysayers, I tell everyone that wants to use these authorities, work with those naysayers. Work with them. Figure out how you get to yes. What do you have to do? What is the challenge? Talk it through. Don't get mad, like I sometimes did when I was younger, and just say, well, forget it, I'll just do it my own way. Take the patience and time to talk and collaborate and understand, and ask why. Continue to ask why. But I do recommend that you understand what each of those titles mean and what authorities they give to us. That way you're just as learned as the person that you're talking with. So please do that. And then lastly here, so I said the other day about we want to help the families. Like we always talk about, and I use the word sexy a lot, the sexy things. Who doesn't love a UAV that will fly over and deliver batteries or chow or something or ammunition to a Marine or a sailor that's fully engaged, troops in contact, they're doing their mission, and we're going to send something, boom, we feed that to them. Who doesn't want to have some kind of neat deployable system that launches from a submarine 60 feet below, and I fit into shore, and I do all this neat? That is the sexiest stuff in the world. However, what we cannot forget about are the families back in the United States, back home. So as our men and women and our sailors and Marines are fighting forward, what are the things that our families need to make sure they have their pay, their insurance, whatever it is they need from the My Navy portal or on the Marine Corps side, Marine Online? What do they need? How do we need to empower? What should we empower the families with to make it easier for them to be away from their loved ones and vice versa? No worries, right? Because when you're deployed, if you've been in active duty before and you're deployed, you're worried not only about your job and whoever wants to harm you, but also about your family back home. So what do we need to do? And that's what MLB is about. They track all that, and they want to know, like, how can we empower the families to have a much easier time with the systems? So those are my big takeaways, and those are my recapping the week, and then the takeaways of what we need to be looking at. So I would ask us always, I think there'll never be a problem looking at how do we close with and destroy the enemy with great prejudice? How do we deter war? How do we continue to make great products? What authorities do we have? No problem with that. But I also want us to remember that there is a family aspect to this as well, and we need to empower the families and ask them what do they need to make it easier for them. So that's what I have, and I would like to now end this and turn it over to Lieutenant Beach for the big show. So thank you, sir.
So before I go ahead and announce who you fine gentlemen have selected today, I wanted to say thank you for building momentum. First of all, this is their space. Naval X rents this space from them, especially for these events as a whole, and they have done a great job I gave them maybe 10 days notice on this design, and they had it built, welded, framed up. Then they went and screen printed or laser printed the whole edge, made the block of wood underneath, got it sealed, and they did that in a pretty short period of time. So Cheyenne and Ned and the rest of the team, so thank you. I'm not sure if they're out here, so I want to appreciate that. All right, without further ado, with a score of 4.4 overall out of 5, Sam Royster with the whole husbandry and inspection ROVs, you're coming up here, you win. Thank you. So Sam, that's yours to take home, along with that flag that all of the panelists have signed for you, saying thank you for your efforts in pushing this solution out there, as well as the sponsorship for initially with Dr. Carlin and his team, and we'll make this work and we'll make this happen in the Navy. So I appreciate it. Thank you. The challenge is over. Give it up for Sam one more time. All right, and so for the closing statements from Captain Van Buskirk, there he is. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. All right, hey, real quick, Whitney, I know I want to share the stage with you for a few minutes for a few comments, and then I'll take it for closing.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that all of the challengers did a great job. I saw the number 2, I saw the number 3, and they were all really close scores. We are not going to stop there. We're going to continue working with you guys and connect you with the right people to move all the ideas forward and get better feedback and support behind them. So thank you. I also wanted to say, as a result of the success of this summit and this process, we are going to take this pilot forward and get this capability available all year to have some problems going through and have monthly reviews of all the ideas coming in, and then quarterly kind of pitches to figure out how we can really move the ideas from the fleet and the Marine Corps and the members of our workforce forward, and make sure that we're crowdsourcing with all of the knowledge and talent that we have across the board. So thank you so much for participating, and I just wanted you guys to know we'll continue the great work. Back to you.
Thank you, Whitney. Okay, thank you. Well, as this week comes to a close, thank you for all of our panelists for your time and joining us today. Thank you for all of our folks from NavalX, all of our folks across the rest of DoD, including our international partners, academia, and industry for joining us. Really, this is what it's about. It's about working together and making the best of what us and our America and our allies have to offer, and creating solutions for the warfighter. And in the end, that's really my last comment here is I look at today as we've sowed the field, right? We've sowed the field, and now at some point we're going to reap it all. But it's going to take watering, like Whitney said. How do we go? And that was what I was talking with my team about. Is so often you do these events and everyone high fives and then goes home and just goes back to their job, right? So it is going to take an active effort, and I give you, at least I promise you from the NavalX perspective, we're going to continue to push forward because we do want to reap these at one day. And I think that for everyone here, my challenge for you is to continue to work with us, work together, and let's keep the eye on that North Star. And the North Star is getting capability in the hands of our warfighters so they win in combat. And the last thing I'll say is a story people will often say is, as NavalX, you want to change culture. How do you change culture? And I say you change culture by showing that you can do things differently and win. And I think the perfect example is how a company that's now just launched civilians into space. And I say that to a few of my friends who are astronauts. So I think there's a little bit of, wow, I'm sort of being disrupted here. But in the end, I talked to the folks at SpaceX quite often, and they said, you look back at their story, and everyone thought they were crazy, really. And they were at Kwajalein, and I've spoken with folks that were out there, and everyone thought they were nuts. Literally every single person was like, you're never going to go anywhere. You're out in Kwajalein, you're just crashing rockets. The way you're doing things is different. And then the Falcon worked, and everyone took notice and said, hey, I think these folks have got something here. Let's pay attention. So my challenge for all of us is let's find that Falcon moment. Let's show everyone that we can do things differently, okay, and do things in a way that will bring capability faster, breaking down those silos to folks in the fleet, and then folks will start listening. That's how you change culture. So thank you all so much. I'm inspired. Let's do this. Thank you. Thank you for everyone joining online.